Hello everyone, welcome to the Central Spacers. My name is Derek, and today we have a very exciting topic to talk about. Before we get into it, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know what you think below. We make a lot of very fun content here, mostly Twin Suns so far. I want to get into a lot of discussion videos about game theory, as well as some card discussion. So why are we here today? We're here because I top 8'd the Denver sector qualifier. It was the first, major tournament in the United States for Star Wars Unlimited. There I am, third from the left, holding one of my nice prize cards we'll look at later. I really didn't know what to expect coming into this tournament. I didn't know how I was going to perform compared to other people in the game. I didn't really have too much of an idea of my own level in the game, if that makes sense. I'd played a few PQs. I top 16 to 2 of the 3 I've been to. Like I said, I wasn't quite sure how I compared to other players in the game. So who am I? I'm Derek. I've been playing the Pokemon trading card game for about 6.5 years before switching to Star Wars Unlimited. I gained some slight notoriety for Dialga V-Star, if you know Pokemon. I played that card to some success when it first came out, and I was kind of the only guy doing that. In the bottom right, you can see me at the World Tournament. I managed to qualify for Worlds last year. We're never doing that again. I basically have quit playing Pokemon entirely to play Star Wars Unlimited. So these are the rest of the spacers that went with me to Denver. Half of these guys are guys that I managed to convert over to the game from Pokemon. And the other guys are friends here locally from the Kansas City and surrounding areas that I've made friends with just playing the game. These guys were a blast to go to this tournament with. We had so much fun. Everything was smooth. All of our activities, getting food, supporting each other with snacks and water. When I was on the run, I was looking up and there was always one or two of these guys watching and cheering me on and trying to contain themselves when I made a cool play. So it was a lot of fun. 4 of us here, Tyler, me, Colin, and Alex. We played Quinnlan Voss. All 4 of us did. So why did we play Quinnlan? Why did I play Quinnlan? I played Quinnlan because I felt that we had a positive, I think it was positive matchup into Jango Fett in set 4, the way he was being built with the 2 drops. The 1 drop European build, our deck wasn't as good into, and we'll talk about that a little later. The other reason I picked Quinnlan is I had experience playing Han 1. I'd been playing Han Solo since set 1 to some capacity, so I was familiar with a lot of the Cunning Heroic card pool. I was kind of also familiar with Aggression Heroic. I never played Sabine. I have still never played Sabine, but I played a lot of Han 2, the young Han Solo blue heroic deck, and I played a lot of Yoda in red and green. Basically, I liked how the 2 colors combined with Quinnlan. Couldn't find anything else I really liked or felt was powerful enough that wasn't Jango Fett. So here's the list. Here is my top 8 Denver list. I want to say I did not do most of the deck building work on this list. We, got our ideas starting just seeing what other folks were playing, other content creators were playing. We looked at Woo's list. Shout out to Woo. And we just sort of tweaked from there. So basically the process was just Colin and Tyler would play the deck, and I would come home and say, cool, what are the changes? What are we playing? Let's grind games. So going through the list real quick, and I played Quinnlan, of course. It pings units, and then target town is just removal on a base for the cost of 5 health, and oftentimes that is worth much more than 5 health. We played Soldier of the 501st as a hedge against the European Jango builds. Spoiler, it didn't work at all. Daring Raid, just flexible damage. Force Throw, one of the best cards in the deck. You can ping something and then finish it off with Force Throw. You disrupt your opponent's hand. You punish them for overextending. It is an incredibly flexible card for an incredibly low price. Blaster, obvious power pump, and game ender, game accelerator. Anakin Skywalker. Anakin gave us the ability to play a 2-drop on the second turn to ping our opponent's turn 1 play while threatening Force Throw to get rid of their turn 2 play. So that way we could start the game with 2 units when our opponent had none, when combined with Tarkin Town. Crafty Smuggler and L3, just good shielded units. They're going to stick to the board most of the time. I think 3 Crafty Smuggler was 1 too many. Leia was amazing. Leia Organa was an amazing card. In one of my stream games against Cad Bane, you can see both games 2 and 3, I use Leia to shut down the CAD leader when he really needs CAD to come down and make a play on the board. Leia was kind of our main deck way to deal with Triple Dark Raid without morphing the entire deck to counter Django, because we still wanted to be able to beat the other decks and not get clunked up with Django tech cards. Sabine is crazy. She deals with Village Protectors, Crafty Smugglers, other 3 health turn 1 plays. Not that we're ever really wanting to do that. We're pushing damage most of the time, but she's just a very flexible card. Surprise Strike, again, obvious. Pump, Cassian Andor. Pivot play when your opponent avoids the ground, when Plo Koon doesn't get that much value, or when you need to push damage now, when you need to close a game. Cassian Andor is very good. Ezra's 4 health kind of got me in some sticky situations a couple times against other Triple Dark Raid decks, but the card advantage and potential action cheating that Ezra supplied is just crazy. In one of the matches, I did hit a waylay off of Ezra to bounce a War Juggernaut back to my opponent's hand. Guerrilla Soldier, this card's crazy. And I didn't see any other Quinnlans playing Guerrilla Soldier. I didn't believe in the card. I said, why do I want to pay 3 for a 2/3? And shout out to Tyler on the team. He insisted that the card was broken and kind of just showed me how to use it. The card won me so many games, just getting in a board situation where your opponent wants you to move first. They don't want you to let you ping them, and you just get to punish them by, here's 5 to your base. The Millennium Falcon, what can you say? It's reusable 3 damage to your opponent's base. You can rush base with it. You can get rid of your opponent's threats without actually losing a card. So the card is just amazing, and I've loved it since set 1 came out, playing it in Han Solo. It's one of my favorite cards in the game. Waylay was a little weak. I did not enjoy putting Django's big guys back in his hand. I feel like I used the card a couple times to good effect, but not my favorite card in the deck. If you see the Ahsoka Kira counts, I played this deck, we probably grinded it 3 weeks before the tournament. I said to the guys that I thought 3 Kira was too many Kira. My reason for going 3 Ahsoka, 2 Kira is Ahsoka always takes a card. So Ahsoka is always guaranteed going to put your opponent down an option. Even if it's the worst card in their hand, that's a card they don't get to resource next turn when they draw 2 really good cards. They have to put one of their really good cards in their resources. So I really loved Ahsoka, but man, you saw it on stream in the Yoda matchup, especially. Kira just being able to look at my opponent's single thing they wanted to play and call it and just shut down their turn cannot be understated. And I say the Yoda match, but you also see it in the Cad Bane match on stream as well. Plo Koon was the primary plan A game plan to kill Django on the flip. Even if you didn't actually use the Plo Koon, if you played like you had the Plo Koon, your Django opponent had to respect it until you started exhausting your resources and playing something else. And then if Plo Koon got to stick in any matchup, it was just damage. Big damage. Hotshot Blaster from the row is 8. Surprise Strike from your hand is 9. It was a way to close games. And then Han Solo, it's not near as good anymore. To be fair, it's a much worse card now, but it says 7 on it, and our leader pings 7 drops when we play a 7 drop. So Han can answer Luke. He can answer Cad Bane. He can already answer Maul. He can answer Vader if Vader doesn't ambush. So that was always a possibility. I did kill Maul once with Han Solo, but my primary use for him the whole weekend was the plan B against Django, which was if you do not draw Plo Koon, you can draw Han force throw yourself, throw a Han Solo at Django and kill him. Han Solo was amazing in that way and used more in that way during the weekend. And then if you see our sideboard, it's almost entirely Django tech cards. On reflection, the electromagnetic pulses probably should have been main decked. They could have been main decked pretty easily. Bamboozle was kind of underwhelming, but I think you needed it just in case you hit a pilot leader. Like I hit a Boba Fett and it's just really mean against them. And then you shut down TDRs with it. Spark of Rebellion, just a flexible card. Sometimes I put it in against Django, but most of the times I didn't. But it's good against any slow decks, anything that wants to overwhelming barrage you. I put it in against Yoda and Luke, I want to say, just because you get to rip the thing they're trying to save. Against the Luke Data Vault deck, I took the Redemption out of their hand. Cham was the worst sideboard card of the weekend because it never got played. I put it in the ramp deck, and the one game the ramp deck got to ramp, Cham went to the resources off of Smuggles. So the card's really good into Han Solo, though, if they manage to get the DJ off, or if they just go above their current resources, or if you play against a ramp deck. And then Commandeer. Commandeer is, you can get punished for holding this card and never playing it, but it's such a blowout in the right spots against the Triple Dark Raid decks. And I even used it to good effect in a couple other matchups here. So that's a list. And with the list, I want to give special shout outs to Tyler Dugan from our group. Tyler did, like I said, most of the work on the deck. He really pushed for certain cards to be in the deck, even when I thought they weren't that great on first glance. I didn't believe in the Gorilla Soldier, and I didn't believe, honestly, in Princess Leia at first. And to be honest, a lot of the lines and plays were him just beating me with the deck, whether it was in a matchup we were testing or in the mirror, and just demonstrating to me the power of certain cards in the deck. And then Kevin won a planetary qualifier with Jango Fett, so he was kind of the Jango Fett punching bag for the last month preparing for this tournament, and every other night, hey, Kevin, let's run some games. Special shout outs to these two because they did a lot of testing with me. These are my matchups. Round one, I hit a Jango Fett. Like I said, I believe our build was favored into the normal builds of Jango Fett. If you look at my pairings here, I lost to the runner-up of the tournament in round 5 and in top 8. He was playing the more European build. But the other 3 Jangos I hit that were the more 2-drop American build, we did beat. I 2-0'd the first one and 2-1'd the other 2, I believe. Nothing really special about that game besides the blowout of my opponent having a 3-card hand, sneak attacking a War Juggernaut, and me playing Ahsoka to tap down his War Juggernaut by discarding his other War Juggernaut. It's just a blowout there. Round 2, I played Palpatine Yellow. I honestly don't remember much of this game. He won game 1, and I think I put Sparker Rebellion in the side, and that was it. And Cham, and I was just more aggressive. Sabine round 3, this was like almost the closest matchup of the tournament. You just kind of raced them. One of the games I was able to pressure them enough where they felt they had to use the ECL early, and that meant that I wasn't getting hit with a Wrecker or a Poe later on, but they played timely intervention, so they kept catapulting Wrecker through my ground units, and that was pretty dangerous. The Sabine matchup came down to their ambush Wrecker with timely intervention from their hand meant they went to 0 cards, so Poe Dameron could not do 8, which was exact math to kill me. They could only do 6, which put me at 2 health, which meant that I got to win because I still had more onboard damage. I still had more attacks to do. A very, very close set. After that, I played against Boba, set 4 Boba, and they just pushed so much damage. They were able to take a game off me, but the Jango sideboard is just so strong into Boba Fett also. We hit the Jango Fett. After that, we lost to Doc. I remember they were close games. I got 1 game off of him, off of Matt. But he won the other 2. I remember he put down a Devastator. I didn't have anything in my hand to answer, and that got me in one of the games. Round 6 was on stream. I got to go on stream. That was incredibly exciting. I'd been on stream a couple times for Pokemon, so it was fun to get to be on stream at the first Star Wars major I went to. You know, at this point I was happy with the day. I started 4-1. That was better, than I guess my expectations were. And going on stream was just like cherry on top. Like, why else do you play but get to, I guess, be in front of everybody and have fun? And watching it back and seeing my friends come up to watch me win the round was pretty fun. I do win this round. I start out kind of bad in game 1. Game 2 was a nail biter. In game 3, I shut down his Now There Are Two of Them. So he has no turn 2 play, and then my turn 3 play shuts off his preferred turn 4 play, which was just kind of a pretty bad blowout at that point. The next round I played against Gar Saxon, which I had no practice in and did not expect to see at all. It was pretty much just an aggro race. Game 1, they got a Cartel Spacer with a Iden Versio on it and just started hitting me. And that is the other point at which Waylay was a very good card, was game 1 putting that pilot back in their hand. I made a risky risky sideboard here in game 2, and I put in the bamboozles, the 2 bamboozles, and I put in the 2 commandeer. I put the 2 commandeer in the sideboard because in game 1 he also played the ST-140, the shielded 4-drop villainy ship from set 4. And I thought that was a decent amount of space units, so I figured I could take him off guard with the commandeer, and he said that to me afterwards. He said he really did not expect to be commandeered at all, and I was able to basically have a 6-point swing, a 6 health swing by taking his ship before it could attack and hit him with it and put it back in his hand. I was also able to bamboozle his last ground attacker on the last turn of the game, and when he flipped Gar Saxon that turn, I forced through my Han Solo at Gar Saxon. So those 3 combined plays were pretty crucial to winning game 2. Very close set though. So after Gar Saxon, I actually get to play against Stevie Getz, KTOD Stevie. Shout out to KTOD. Shout out to Steve. He was really fun to play against. We had great conversation while we were playing. I texted my friends on the way to the stream table. I said, I watched the KTOD podcast. Steve said he's playing Luke Skywalker at Denver. I'm going to get cooked. I know it's not the great matchup for me. I can deal to an extent with blue, white, green Sentinels. I can deal to an extent with their shields, but not at the rate at which Luke can play them. Quinnlan does have a difficulty with that if you don't draw the right things. So Steve did 2-0 me. Well played by him. It was great meeting him. Round 9, the winning in today too. I'm 6-2 at this point against a friend, against Adam. Shout out to Adam. Shout out to Talkin' Town, Talkin Town. They do a SWU podcast every week, so go check them out over there. It's always bittersweet playing against someone you know, especially in a situation like a winning in. It's nice because you know at least one of you's moving on, but it sucks because knocking your friend out of day 2 doesn't feel good, right? We had a very close set. We go to game 3, and it's that situation where I bait the Plo Koon. I represent the Plo Koon the whole turn. I finally show that I don't have the Plo Koon by using a Hot Shot Blaster on my Ahsoka. He flips Jango Fett, and I force throw my own Han Solo. And at that point, I was so far ahead that I was just able to win there. So that was day 1. I made day 2 at the first Star Wars Regional. I was ecstatic. I did better than I thought I was going to do, but I played a ton of Pokemon regionals. I made a bunch of day 2s. I know it's time to go to the hotel, get some food, go to sleep, and come back rested for the next day. I wake up, I have a huge headache, I feel horrible, and as mad as I was that they announced that day 2 was backed up an hour, it was probably for my own good because it gave me time to start feeling better. In round 10, I play against another Jango Fett. I did forget to mention round 9 Jango Fett was a 30 health Jango Fett, which I was worried about being able to push that much damage, but here we're back on Tarkin Town. I remember one crucial play from this matchup. I had a solo Quinnlan, I think it was game 3, and he had Jango, a crafty smuggler, and he had just, I believe, attacked with Jango. I forced through damaged Jango and then commandeered his tank. So before he took 6 damage to the base when I was already ahead, he had to swing his crafty smuggler into it, which meant he could tap it down, but also meant I had initiative to deal with the Jango and get it off the board and close the game that way. That was huge. And then the winning into top 8, poetically enough in a way, was against Yoda Green, which is the thing I probably tested the most before Quinnlan. This was Giovanni, who everybody was rooting for, me included, playing Yoda Data Vault. I heard he got to Endless Legions, multiple people in this tournament, which is crazy. I didn't believe Endless Legion was a reliable strategy at all, especially against Jango, who I heard he did Endless Legions against was Jango. Unfortunately for Giovanni, it didn't seem like he drew very well. I've been behind the driver's seat of Yoda many times, so I know pretty much exactly what the deck wants to do and is trying to do. So I knew what the best angle to take. I knew when I wanted to play Kira. I knew when I wanted to interact with him. And like I said, it just did not seem like he drew very well, which is unfortunate for him. And I got to shut off Obi-Wan Kenobi both games on a turn where he kind of needed it. Then round 12, I'm back against Matt. And game 1 is a nail biter. I get to draw, and if I draw Daring Raid or Surprise Strike, the game's immediately over, but I don't draw the Surprise Strike, so I get him to 24. I had just seen his hand the turn before. I knew his hand was dead. I interacted with his hand, and he drew a unit that pings my units, and then he drew a Surprise Strike on his War Juggernaut, which with the extra ping had enough damage to do exactly lethal to me. So he wins game 1. Game 2, I gotta be honest, I punted horribly game 2, and we lost in top 8. But I honestly can't be happier with how the tournament went. I wildly exceeded my own expectations, and I honestly had a blast. And for making top 8 at the tournament, I was the highest placing Quinnlan Voss, which I think it's so cool that Fantasy Flight does this, but I did earn a showcase for placing the highest with Quinnlan Voss, as well as this top 8 Kylo Ren. These are going to go on my wall with the rest of my trophies. I have some Pokemon mats and my Worlds promo in my hallway displayed, and these will, after I play with the Quinnlan for a little while, get displayed eventually, as well as the mat. We did not initially get the top 8 mat, which was a little disappointing, but it will be shipped to me here soon. And then on top of that, I get an auto day 2 at Worlds. It's amazing. I get to hang out. I look forward to relaxing and supporting my friends on the team day 1 and just getting to go into day 2 a little more rested than everybody else and a little more prepared. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me here. Thanks to my team, my friends, the Central Spacers. Thanks to my Pokemon team. They did a lot of cheering me on, and honestly, I couldn't be the player I am today without them. And just in general, Pokemon is such a mechanically busy game. You're constantly moving, searching your deck, shuffling, doing all of this, that I almost felt relaxed this whole tournament because I'd never played a game at this level where you're not constantly moving around. I felt like I got to use more of my energy just making the right play, making the right decision, if that makes sense. So I honestly think the years of Pokemon really kind of set me up to do well at this first regional. I think that's it. That's the last slide there. So thanks for watching. Force throw a subscribe our way, and we'll see you in the next video. See ya.